Thank you for joining me today. Today's lesson is going to be on mastering Adobe Dynamic Chat, which is a tool available to all Marketo customers. My name is Lou, and I'm going to be your instructor for today. I have been with Nomad Marketing for about 7 years now, and I come to Nomad by way of a number of different marketing operations roles in the space. I've worked in all the major marketing automation platforms, from Marketo to HubSpot to Pardot, you name it, as well as all of those tools that you find in a typical marketing tech stack. Nomad Marketing is a group of New York City-based marketing operations consultants. So we are a team that is tech agnostic. We are working in, again, all of the major marketing automation platforms, administering them and implementing solutions for our clients each and every day. We also work within the tools that connect to those marketing automation tools. So your CRM instances, from Salesforce and Dynamics, Zoho CRM, to enrichment tools, to ABM tools, you name it. We're working in them, solutioning in them, and we're learning about all the latest and greatest that comes out of those tools. And today we're going to be going over the somewhat new tool rolled out from Adobe a couple years ago called Dynamic Chat. And we're going to go into a live demo of what it looks like to actually configure chat from scratch, integrating it with Marketo, and then looking at that chat performance in your Marketo instance after you've gone ahead and launched your first programs. So let's dive in. We're going to start by navigating to Marketo. And what you see here is the Nomad Marketing production instance. This is the view that you'll see when you log into your Marketo instance. You'll see a number of tiles here, and you should see Dynamic Chat. Now, if you click through to Dynamic Chat, what you'll see next is going to be the actual platform itself. So if you don't see this page, you'll likely have to work with your Marketo administrator to give you that product level access via Adobe Admin Console. And we'll share some resources with you after the presentation on exactly what those permissions look like that you'll need to actually access the tool and get started. Before we go into actually building out our first dialogue, let's walk through what it looks like to configure Dynamic Chat for the first time. If you're new to Dynamic Chat, the first thing you're going to do is integrate your Marketo Engage instance. And you're going to be asked or prompted to set up your field mappings, or what is being called attributes. When you go into the tool for the first time, you're going to be able to select from a number of different custom fields and standard fields that you already have in your Marketo instance. Using these fields, you're going to be able to create more personalized experiences within your chat dialogues. So right now we have a number of fields already selected and mapped over from our Marketo instance. We can always tweak these over time. So if we need to add more fields later, we can certainly do so. Once you've initiated that first Marketo sync, which takes about 24 hours to complete, you're able to actually dig in and start building. Something you're going to want to do up front is style your chatbot. So what is it that the user sees when they land on a page and see that chatbot from your business? You'll see here that we've already styled a bot for Nomad Marketing. We've named our bot Bernie from Nomad. We've added a custom avatar, so we've actually uploaded an image to use here, and we've applied some of our styling to the headers, to the background, the borders, etc. Also, within the chatbot settings, you're able to set your privacy policy. So if you see here, this is the view that the end user sees. If you add your privacy policy URL, it will show at the bottom of your chatbot and be clickable. And then finally, the installation tab. So if you've used other chat tools in the past, this is going to look very similar. You're going to be given one unique script specific to your Dynamic Chat instance that can be applied across any web page on your site or on a Marketo landing page. So this script just needs to be added once. What you're actually going to do to dictate where the chatbot appears is within the dialogues themselves, which we'll jump into in a minute. When you're setting up your agents, the agents that you'll see here, we've set up 4 Nomad users to have the ability to perform live chat and also take meeting bookings. These user permissions were set in the Adobe Admin Console already. So when you go into the console and you get those product-specific settings set up, determine which users you want to have access to be using live chat or to connect their calendars. If they've connected either one of those permissions, you'll see that here on this page. Now, as an individual agent, once I'm given that invite to access Dynamic Chat, I'm going to be able to see or set up and configure my availability, either for meetings or for live chat. So I've already gone and connected my calendar. You can connect either Outlook or Google by default. You can set what that meeting confirmation email looks like should you decide to use the meeting booking functionality. And then you can set up your actual availability. So you can see here, I've already set up my specific user to be set in Central Time, and I've given my availability for meeting bookings between Monday and Friday. I've set the default meeting duration and the buffer time between the meetings. I've done the same thing for live chat availability as well. So you can see here on the Monday through Friday, I've set when my user is available to receive live chat requests. Great. So now that we've gone through some of the settings, let's jump into creating a dialogue. So in Dynamic Chat, there's a concept of a dialogue and a conversational flow. And for the purposes of this lesson, we're going to focus on building our first dialogue. We're going to go ahead and create a dialogue here. And when you create a dialogue for the first time, you're going to be given an access to different templates that Dynamic Chat offers. So if you haven't used this before, I highly recommend going in and selecting one of these templates so you can see what a pre-built dialogue looks like and give you some ideas for how you might want to structure your own conversation. For this exercise, we're going to start from a blank dialogue, and I'm going to name it. Once I've clicked create, I'm going to be taken first to the audience tab. So this is actually where we target where the chatbot appears on your site. We do this via URL targeting. So we've already set up a Nomad Marketing test page within our Marketo instance. And I'm going to go ahead and just grab that URL right here. We've set up a page called Nomad Chatbot Testing. I'm going to copy that URL. And I'm going to drop that URL here. Now we can include multiple URLs to include in our target audience. We can also add a wildcard if need be. So let's say we want to have this dialogue appear on every page in our resources section. By adding this little asterisk, any person who visits a page on our site that includes the URL /resources will see the chatbot. You also have the ability to exclude specific URLs from your targeting. Now let's look at some of the other types of rules we can set from our target audience. We have 3 different types of events that we can utilize. Scroll percentage. Should we want to say that the user has to have scrolled 10% of the page before the chatbot appears, we could add that here. We could also add time on page or even the time on the site. So let's say the user's been on the site for 30 seconds or more, and they've had a scroll percentage on the page of more than 10%, we'll allow them to see this dialogue. Finally, you have access to filter by attributes. So these are the attributes that you would have already mapped when you initiated your Marketo Engage synchronization. Let's say that we want to only include users who we've already cookied in the system and that have a billing country that is the United States or Canada. Now, of course, this would only impact those users we already know exist and we already have a billing country assigned to. So this is something you'll want to play around with. Maybe you have use cases where you want to target specific customers, in which case they should already be in your database and you should have data on them to personalize or target even further. This is something that you could leverage for that. I'm going to remove the attribute filters and the event filters. And for this test, we're only going to target anybody who visits this specific URL. So let's go into the Stream Designer. Now we've started from a blank canvas. So whenever you create a dialogue, your first card is always going to be a message card. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the message card and give a little welcome message to our visitors. So this is the first message that users will see if they're on our specific target page. What I want to do with this dialogue is I want to understand why the user is visiting our site. I want to ask some leading questions, gather some more information on the user, and then have an action to either send them to a live chat agent or to have them book a meeting. So I'm going to start with a question. I'm going to ask them, what brings you to our site today? And then I'm going to give them a set of responses. They can select from seeking marketing operations support, help with an implementation, or I have a custom project. Now, once I save this card, you're going to see in the panel that we're automatically going to have 3 different branches appear. And based on the options that the visitor selects, we can take them down a specific path. On the Seeking Marketing Operations Support path, I actually want to ask one more question. I want to understand what platform it is that they're using today. So I'm going to ask another question here. First, I'm going to thank them for answering the question above. And then I'm going to prompt them with, what is your current marketing automation platform? And I'm going to give them a set of responses. Now that I've created this question, we're going to create another series of branches where we're going to have to set up another action. Before I move on to the Seeking Marketing Operations path, what do I want to do with options B and C from above? Now, if somebody selects help with an implementation or I have a custom project, I actually want to put them in front of one of our agents from Nomad to get more information. So what I'm going to do here is add live chat card. Now, I could ask some more questions prior to this live chat. Maybe I want to get information on their job role. What is their company name? There's a lot of things we can confirm up front. We're going to jump straight into routing to a live chat agent, give them a chance to speak to us. So what you'll see here is there's a number of different routing options you can use. If you want to utilize round robin, any of your live chat agents who have availability at this time and are active, the next person up in the queue will receive the live chat. You can also route to an individual agent, or you can select custom rules. So if your business uses territory routing rules or some other kind of metric to determine where a lead gets transferred, you can set up those rules in the configuration panel to the left. In this case, we're just going to route to one agent. We're going to route to Lou. And if they select I have a custom project, we also want the same action to happen. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag this card so that in both of these cases, they'll be routed to Lou. So let's go back to the Seeking Marketing Operations Support path. We've just asked them what their current marketing automation platform is. Our next step is going to be to try to get them to book a meeting. But before I do so, I want to confirm what their email address is. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add an info capture card. This is going to allow us to have the user input information about themselves and allow us to map it to a field we already have mapped in Marketo. I'm going to map our response to the email address field. I'm going to again thank them for answering the question above. And I'm going to ask them for their business email address. Now, anytime you utilize an info capture card, you do have the ability to skip the question entirely if the value already exists in the database. So let's say this visitor that's going through the prompts already exists in Marketo and has been cookied. If we already have an email address for that person, we can select this option and they won't even see this question appear. However, for this case, I want to overwrite whatever value we have in the system and I want every user to see it. So let's save that. And I actually want to have this info capture available to any of the options the user selects. So I'm going to attach the HubSpot card, the Pardot card, and the something else card here. Great. So finally, we want to give the person the opportunity to book a meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and select a meeting booking card. The same routing options apply. In this case, I'm going to route to a specific agent once again. And then we're done. So how do we test this functionality? We can test this on a Marketo landing page, which is what we'll get to next. But there is a built-in testing functionality here. By selecting this icon, it opens up a right panel where you can actually go through the experiences if you are the visitor on the site. So let's go through this. I'm the user and I see a welcome message from Nomad. I select Seeking Marketing Operations Support. I select that my current platform is Marketo. I'm prompted to give my business email address. And now I have a meeting booking set up. So this is a great way to actually test what the user's experience is before going to a staging site URL. This really comes in handy when you have more complex dialogues with multiple branches where you have to test each and every scenario to make sure it makes sense. All right, we're going to click out of the test functionality. Now, there's a number of other actions we can take within each of these cards. We're going to go ahead and set this dialogue to published. But before we do, let's utilize a goal. I want to add a goal card here. And I want to create a new goal called completed marketing operations path. Goals are great, especially when you utilize them throughout the course of the dialogue. Adding goals to your dialogue immediately sends over that information to Marketo, and you're able to filter and trigger off of goal completions. So I highly recommend, as you build out dialogues, overuse goals as a starting point. You can put them in the middle of flows. You can set goals for somebody completing an info capture card. It can be as granular as you'd like. The more information, really, the better. So definitely use goals across your dialogues as you continue to explore the product. All right. So we have our dialogue ready to go. Now we actually want to test it on a Marketo landing page. So we've already set up a Marketo landing page called Nomad Chatbot Testing, which is right here. And within the page, when I actually edit this, in the landing page actions, we've already added our dynamic chat installation script directly to the custom head HTML. So anytime you're testing a chatbot within a Marketo landing page, you're going to want to add that unique script directly here within the page meta tags. I've already got this added. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this URL. I'm going to get this page ready to go. Now, we don't see the chatbot appearing on this test page yet, and that's because we have to publish it. So let's go back into Dynamic Chat and let's click Publish. Now, if there are any issues with the chat, it is going to prompt you to fix them before actually publishing your dialogue, but it looks like we're good to go. Here's that published green icon above. So now we're going to go back to our Marketo landing page. Let's give the page a refresh. And there we have it. So here's kind of our phase 2 of testing our chat dialogue. We've tested it already within the dialogue itself. Now we're going to test it on a live page. Let's go through this process. We're going to select the same options we did before. And now we're prompted to schedule a meeting with Lou, which is the agent that we selected in our routing rules. And you can see here, Lou has already set up her calendar, connected it to Dynamic Chat, and given her meeting availability. So what's displayed here is based on that availability that she set. Let's go ahead and select a time in the future, hit confirm. And now not only is the end user going to be receiving an email confirmation about a meeting, but Lou, as the meeting booker, is also going to receive that same meeting confirmation. Great. So let's jump back into Dynamic Chat. So we've already published a dialogue, which is great. Dialogues can be cloned from, right? So if we go into our dialogue section and say you want to build out a similar dialogue and just tweak it a bit for a different target audience, you can always go ahead and clone from here. One of the ways to track some of the meetings and conversations that come through is from your activities section. So you can see over time all of the lead emails that have come through for meeting bookings with Nomad. And as you start to explore using live chat within your dialogues, you'll start to see conversations appear. So we've tested our dialogue, we've published it on a Marketo landing page. Now, how are we going to report on the success of that program? Within our marketing activities, we've set up a dynamic chat program template. So as a best practice in Marketo, just like with any other marketing channel, for dynamic chat, we've set up a template that we can use for every chat dialogue that we launch going forward. I'm going to go ahead and clone this program template that we've already created. I'm going to name it based on the naming conventions we use here. I'm going to add it to our dynamic chat folder that we've created and hit create. Now, this is our best practice for setting up program templates to bring in data from your dynamic chat dialogues. Once this program clones, we'll walk through what the individual components of this program are. So we'll, of course, have trigger campaigns set up to listen for different types of milestones within Dynamic Chat. We can track engagements in a conversation. So if somebody actually, clicks on one of your responses, answers a question via info capture. Once you've connected Dynamic Chat, you'll be able to access triggers such as engages with a conversational flow or engages with a dialogue. So once you've set this up, you're going to see some of these triggers that you have access to that are also available in the form of filters, which is great. So depending on what your dialogue setup looks like, you're going to want to activate certain campaigns to capture information from these chat conversations, progress them through program status changes like we would any other channel, potentially add them to a list, maybe change the score, maybe sync them to your CRM, but build out these program templates so that they can be used across every single dialogue you create, and you create that normalization of each of your programs. I would also recommend creating lists, right? So anybody who books a meeting, engages in a dialogue, engages with an agent, let's add them to that static list so we can track it over time. And then goals. We talked a bit about goals, and these will likely be specific to each dialogue you build, but set up those custom goals so that you can track how many people have completed them. Perhaps you can use those for reporting down the road. You may want to send over those goal completions to your sales team or just for general marketing reporting. All right, so what have we learned today? So setting up a dynamic chat is easy to do. Once you configure Marketo, it takes almost no time to start styling your chatbot and get building. So it's very intuitive. The first thing you're going to want to do is just confirm you have access in Marketo. So make sure you can actually access dynamic chat. And if you can't, reach out to your administrator and they'll help you get that set up. When you synchronize Marketo, of course, it's not a once and done exercise. You can always update field mappings later. But for the initial sync, get all those custom and standard fields that you're going to want to use for your first dialogues, map them, and just get started on your building. Once you build your first dialogue, test it. Test it within the tool, test it on a Marketo landing page, then move on to testing it on a staging page of your site, and eventually publishing it on your website. And then, of course, always track your engagements. So we can't say this enough. Whether you create a chat channel from scratch in Marketo, or you just create programs to capture those chat engagements, do it early so that you always have something to measure against as you start to launch each of your chat conversations. So what we have at Nomad is we have a checklist, right? So everything you've seen here today, we've built into an evergreen dynamic chat checklist. It includes all of the steps to get started, launching your first program, to building out your Marketo measurement programs, and so on. All of it's included. Just simply reach out to us and we'll get you access to that information. And of course, if you have any questions about anything we covered today, or you want to learn more about Nomad, feel free to reach out to us and we'll get you started. Thank you for joining today. Looking forward to seeing you on the next lesson. Thanks.